Welcome to The Journey of a Singer with me, your host, Nick Pritchard. This is the podcast where we dive into the fascinating and unique journeys of those individuals within the creative industry. In today's episode, I had the pleasure of chatting with cabaret extraordinaire, Darren Charles. Darren shares his illustrious journey in the entertainment industry, leading roles both on the West End, Europe, USA and Asia in shows such as Guys Named Moe, Bollywood Nights, The Rat Pack live from Las Vegas, and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Darren created his own path, stepping into the wonderful world of cabaret, playing Saucy Davis Jr, and can be found hosting, producing and touring with London's top cabaret shows such as an Evening of Burlesque and private dramas cabaret shows on board the Belmond British Pullman. So sit back and enjoy the journey of a singer with today's marvellous guest, Darren Charles. Darren Charles, welcome to the Journey of a Singer podcast.
Thank you.
Wicked to have you on, man.
Thank you for having me.
I've been following your social media since the pandemic.
Right.
I just loved how you've got such a variety of things you do. Like the shows that you put on are different. It's got this element of real excitement about it.
Okay.
I'd love to know, where did you start with your journey as a singer, an actor? You've got a whole host of talents. You're very multifaceted.
Right.
How did that all begin?
Long story short with the beginning of it, because it's like in sections. I did dance as a kid at 5 years old. I asked my parents, I wanted to do tap. I saw it on TV. I saw Gene Kelly with the mouse as well in the American in Paris. And that inspired me. And so they sent me to tap classes and I loved it. You did a bit of ballet and jazz and stuff. And then I stopped for a while because of bullying and just being a little kid. And everybody's like, he likes ballet, But it was a good thing because I came back many years later as a teenager and found a school that had dance. At the time, it was named Grafton Regal and it's now South London Dance School. And a wonderful teacher named Zoe, she got me into dance again. And she actually said, can you sing? Can you act as well? You might be interested in going to full-time college, school, uni, At the time I was like, this is interesting. I never thought about singing. I just want to dance, I enjoy dancing. At the same time, I was studying my A-levels. So I dropped religious studies and did dance, which was a big jump for everybody. They were like, what is he doing? And yeah, with her help, I got into a school named Erdang Academy.
It's a very famous school. It's a very prestigious school.
Yeah. I got scholarship there. And that's where I learned how to sing and act, as well as dance and the rest.
You are the triple threat.
Yeah.
You've probably got more than triple on there as well. But it's funny, isn't it, how at your younger stages of 4 or 5, you can sometimes see in a kid that, they've got a talent for that, or they've got a passion for that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's more obvious than others. But there are times when you look at certain kids at that age and you think, oh no, that guy's going to be a good singer, or that guy's going to be a good dancer, or they've got rhythm, or they can move. And it's funny you brought up the ballet. My parents took me to ballet when I was 5. I lasted about 2 classes.
Right.
I think it's probably the opposite. They probably looked at me and thought, nah, this kid, he's never going to be good. He's never going to be good at this. So what did you do after Erdang?
After Erdang, the whole idea was to get into musical theatre. Because I absolutely loved it from the moment I first saw it. And I did immediately. I didn't even completely finish the year, but I still graduated, put it that way. But I went straight into a show named Carmen Jones. It was an opera at the Royal Festival Hall.
Nice.
So that was my first gig.
That's full on. Do you do opera?
Yeah. Yes, I've done a little bit. Not that much, but I've done opera and rock opera, Scream's Kitchen Genovese we did. I've done a few of those things with a big band orchestra as well, which is amazing and blows your mind. You always learn something with those things, but yeah.
And where did the big band stuff come from? Because I think when I first saw you on social media, I thought, oh man, this guy's got the whole Rat Pack thing going.
Right. So I've always liked jazz, but I've never I guess something's come from your parents, you know what I mean? Like, you hear your parents listen to things and you catch on. But I wouldn't say my parents were into jazz, you know? But somehow it's always in the back of your brain. You've got a little information there about it. So I must have been at dance studio one day with company Bird Gang. We were all training, doing a thing. And a friend of mine named Ivan Blackstock, he brought the stage paper over to me and said, "Hey, Banks," because that's my nickname, which people call me. "Hey, Banks, I got, look, check it. There's this Rat Pack thing, and I think you'd be perfect as Sammy Davis Jr. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know that much about Sammy Davis Jr. How am I going to be perfect? This is a tribute show. It's going into the West End. I was like, oh, yeah.
Now we're
brought me
interested.
back. So I wrote in to them, got my agent involved at the time, and went through the whole audition process. And each level, I felt like I was getting more and more into it. So the first round was just hearing you sing. Yeah, so it was like, okay, sing some Nat Nicole, some Sammy, something else, you know. And then the next phase, and then before you know it, you're in a suit walking in, and you're like, no, I'm going to play the character. This is what I want, you know. I've read about this guy now, you know. And yeah, that made a spark of things, the Rat Pack world, because there's endless history with those guys, endless, you know.
That's one show that I wish, if someone said to me, what's one thing you wish you could see in history, I'd just love to have seen the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen that, like the interaction they had, the chemistry they had, singing those songs. And I mean, I can't think of anything else that I'd rather see. And it's, you know, obviously that time's passed, but being able to continue it on.
Yeah.
With the likes of the Rat Pack show and doing these. I think there's a new one that's just come out.
Yes, there is.
The Frank Sinatra one.
That's it.
I haven't seen it yet. I've seen little snippets. Mm-hmm. That's very theatre-y. Like, I've heard little snippets of it. It doesn't quite sound like the old Sinatra jazz.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit more ready for stage. It's very theatre-y. But it's also vocally quite theatre-esque.
Yeah.
It's really cool that these things are living on and in their own way. I obviously am a bit biased towards that world. I love it. I love feeling like I'm having some part of continuing their history in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And trying to connect with younger generations coming up and introducing them to that kind of music. And
I've seen you do it with the big bands. I mean,
yeah, it's awesome. But the shows like that you've been in, it's really cool to continue that line of work.
A lot of artists from that show who that's where they've come from, you know what I mean? It's one of those grounds where you really learn your art, you know, especially as jazz. And some of the musicians on the show as well, like some of them had actually played with like Frank Sinatra or Sammy or, you know, so their stories and how they think things should be, you know, you go, oh, okay, right, I get that rhythm instead and I'll do that instead. Okay, that's jazz, right?
That's really
cool.
Know? Because there's going to be a time where you won't have anyone left that had worked with Sinatra. We're still in this era where people have been alive when Sinatra and the Rat Pack were about.
Yeah.
So that in itself is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I always find it really satisfying and more exciting when I'm singing to someone of a slightly older generation that was around when those songs came out.
Yeah.
Like you can tell it hits them differently.
Yeah, definitely.
What inspired your... Because I think what differentiates you now, the burlesque route, the shows that you're putting on, at the moment, every time I see them pop up, that looks so cool. It looks so exciting. It's so different. And there's not much of that going on in the UK. You've got the burlesque, you've got the cabaret, but like the shows being put together, there's very few of them. So what inspired you to go down that route?
Well, I mean, the thing with the Rat Pack world is that I hate to say it, but an age group are dying out. You know? And so like I was saying, you have to introduce new people to that world. And I was finding doing Rat Pack constantly wasn't introducing that new element. You could come up with new jokes and new things, but it wasn't capturing that new audience. How about we go further than Showgirls? How about we actually have burlesque, you know? And that's kind of where that thing is coming for me, because once again, a world opened up. Once you see the gap, the world opens up again and it becomes a whole nother world of away from tribute, but cabaret, you know? So yeah, that's where that's come about. Filling the gap, knowing, okay, I can introduce old stuff, I can introduce new stuff. and I can make my own shows as well. You know what I mean? Like there's space for that, you know?
The creativity and the vision that you've had with some of these shows, I think it was the train one that pops up. What was the one? What was that called? The one where you were on the...
Right. So we did the Orient Express.
The Orient Express.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, this is just such a unique concept, and the vision and creativity that's gone into this is really setting yourself into a new lane in the market. And
I have to give credit to Adam for that.
Okay.
Adam Blackwood of Private Drama Events. He is the creator of that idea, you know. He basically saw all of us from the cabaret world, and went, well, I want that, and I want that, and I want that, you know. And let's put it on the train. Let's make it like a real vibe. A Sammy vibe, which is standard tux and everything, and then there's my character that I've made up, Saucy Davis Jr, who is all gold, all jewels, wears a gold S, you know what I mean? Like you just take elements and you add on top to make this new form, you know, which appeals to a younger audience.
So what are the shows at the moment that you're...
So at the moment, I play Saucy Davis Jr. in many different shows around town and stuff, different cabarets, you know. I also have my show called the Rat Pack Burlesque Show, but I'm currently on a show named An Evening of Burlesque, which is a touring show around the UK. Literally all the way up to Scotland, back down all the way to Cornwall. You know, we're all over the country.
And you're so busy. I mean, when we were getting in touch about when to do the podcast, you were sort of sending over your schedule, and I was like, man, we're never getting this podcast done. This is... You had so many shows. And then I know that recently you basically lost your voice, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that as a performer, you've got to be so wary of all the time, because it's what makes you the money. It's your instrument, and it's really scary when that disappears. What was that like for you? What is it like when it actually happens?
I mean, you always know when it's happening, when your voice is getting slightly worse and you're like, oh, I've got this cough as well. What's going on, you know? And you go through the phase of, okay, I'll ease back, I'll steam, I'll do things. But essentially, when stuff gets like that, your body's just telling you, you need to rest, you know? You just need to give yourself time to recoup, relax the voice, stop talking altogether, you know? But yeah, when it's happening, it's quite scary. But you push through at the same time. There's always like this saying, the show must go on. And it does. You find a way for it to go on, you know, even if you have to sing at some point until you get to the end of that voice.
And also, I'd imagine you're quite a difficult person to dep out, especially with your Saucy Davis. So like, how is that going to work? Like, how are you going to be able to be like, oh, would you mind playing Saucy Davis for the evening?
Well, luckily, I'd managed to get through the main stuff. Hosting is a thing. When somebody books you to host, you kind of run the show the way that you would. It runs around how you would do things. So it's hard to dep out as a host.
Oh, for sure.
But doing a variety slot, that's exactly it. It's a variety slot. So I'll come in and do my own thing. And I think with that, it's just about depping somebody in that can do a variety slot.
Yeah, that's more deppable.
Yeah.
But then the Saucy Davis stuff, that I mean, if someone's specifically going for that, or if you've got a show where that needs to be there, that's hard boots to fill.
Yeah, well, I took the week off last week, but I had a wedding at the end of the week, and that's one of those moments where somebody wants you to come and sing for them, do their first dance. So I was like, okay, right, I can put the other stuff aside for now, which I hate doing because I know audiences, you know, they've come to see you, you're on the poster. But at the same time, I've got to go, okay, but this is a special day for somebody right now. You know, they're paying me a lot of money to come and sing their first dance. So, right, what can I do to make that better? I've got 6 days to steam, not talk, eat ginger, do all the good stuff, you know, and get back into vocal fitness to be able to go, right, I can sing, I'll do your first dance easy, you know.
And any other tips and tricks for anyone that's sort of thinking, oh, shoot, I might need to do the same thing? What have you learned from your time in the industry, and like maybe this might not have been the first time it's happened? How can you increase that recovery process?
I would say never push past your limits. If you feel like you're getting to that point, then rest up, you know, and take a step back, you know, do what you need to do, you know, like if it's after the show, steam, you know, just not talk, you know what I mean? Just apologize you can't talk after, you know, and just spend time steaming until the next day. And a good trick I got taught the other day, because I'm always learning something new, was to literally eat ginger, raw ginger.
Really?
It tastes disgusting as hell. But it really did, I must admit.
I've
Whatever
not
was
tried
going
that.
on there, it cleared it up.
Okay. I'll need to bear that in mind. You always learn something new, don't you?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one before. And what about the preparation for being, when you're doing the amount of shows that you're doing, you're essentially an athlete at that point.
Yeah.
What's it like in terms of preparing to be in the shape to actually be able to pull that off?
Well, I do quite a bit. I definitely go to the gym, you know. I go on long runs while singing and running. Yeah.
The old,
just
Beyonce technique.
right? And it works. It builds up that stamina so that you can take those big breaths on stage and carry on notes for ages. But also, I do warm-ups every day. I try and make sure that every day I spend 10 minutes or so just vocally warming up, stretching the voice a little bit, you know, all those kind of things. And those are a daily basis kind of thing. It's workout and vocal stretch and physically stretch, and, you know, it's just the whole body thing you need to, in order to survive.
It's your vessel, isn't it? You've got to really look after it. And does nutrition come into play?
Massively.
What's your go-to? Are there any things you're like, no, definitely won't do that, or I definitely need to do this in order to be at my peak?
My constant struggle is with chocolate.
Yeah.
I love chocolate, but it is terrible. It's terrible for the throat. It's terrible for the cords. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where maybe after a show, I go chocolate crazy, you know?
Once the show's done, give me some of that chocolate.
But before it, I'm like, no. Especially if I feel tired. Nope, staying away from that because that'll just clog me up.
Yeah, people say these things, but like, it actually is a thing.
Yeah.
You can literally feel it just sort of like,
yeah,
it's there in your throat somewhere, or it just doesn't feel as fluid. But at the same time, I mean, you can't, you got to live your life as well.
Yes.
So there's got to be that balance there, being smart about it. You probably, if you've got loads of shows in the run, you think this is a time where I really need to maximize my efficiency.
Yeah.
But even if you're eating something before a show, you don't want anything too heavy because you don't want to be, like, for me, I actually burp. If I've been eating too much of the wrong thing and then I've got to go and sing, like, because your diaphragm's moving and it's squeezing into your stomach. If I've eaten too much or I've had the wrong thing, I'm at danger of like burping down the microphone, and that's like the last thing you want.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You got to time it out when you want to eat and how long before the show. Because at the same time, you don't want to eat too much, but you don't want to eat too little that you get to the show and you're running on fumes. You know what I mean? Like, I've definitely had that before. Get halfway through the show and then I'm like, ooh.
I don't know about you, but I'm always starving after a show.
Yes.
Doesn't matter, like, and you always crave the wrong things after a show. Like, the battle for me is, as soon as the show's done, it's like, okay, be sensible. It's late.
Yes.
So you're probably better off just calling it a day and then having a nice breakfast.
Yeah.
But also it's like you're driving home and I'm like, I'll just nip into like the garage. And
that is the worst.
That's the killer. And I don't know why. I haven't figured it out yet, but maybe you expend so much energy and you're craving that stuff.
But it's funny though, because you say that, because even like touring and stuff, and you're driving home or on a tour bus or whatever, and you get to service, say like a McDonald's is open. How many times do you ever look at the McDonald's and go, oh, I'll get the salad box or whatever? You know what I mean? The option is there, but for some reason, your brain goes, no, I want that burger and chips or something. You know what I mean? Like,
especially after a show. It really wants it. That's my thing. I try and just sleep it off. Just get home to bed and like just try and sleep it off, because otherwise I know what's going to happen, and then I'm up later as well because the food is keeping me awake. Those kind of things. But no, I think like just like an athlete, if you were about to run a marathon or about to play a football game, you wouldn't eat a big meal just beforehand, because you know it's going to sit funny in your stomach. You're going to get a stitch. And especially stuff you're doing where you're actually moving. You can actually, I don't dance, I'm not a dancer, but you can actually dance. That is, you're physically expending energy and you are moving your body just like you would if you were going to run or play a game of football. So,
and it makes a difference. It does make a difference that a heavy meal before I do a tap solo while singing, when I come off stage, if I've eaten heavy or if I haven't, because I'll either be in the corner and go, oh Lord. Or be like, whew, yeah, I'm sweaty, but I'm good. Yeah, you know? Yeah.
So would you say in terms of your priorities, you've got at the top is your shows and would you put your private stuff up there as well, like your corporate, your weddings, that kind of thing?
Definitely. Yeah.
And then following that is the acting coming second, or is there something else? What else is in your priority?
I would say the shows always come first because they're there constantly, you know. And then yes, the acting, I wouldn't say second, but I would say there's less of it. And with acting, you got to be choosy about what you do as well, yeah. Because it's a good thing to say yes to everything, but then there's some things you should say no to. Yeah. And we've all been there. We've all done different roles or parts that we've gone, why did I do this? You know, yeah.
And then it's time.
Exactly.
You get caught on the wrong project,
right?
You're trapped somewhere for a while. This is what I hear a lot about. I don't know if you've done ships. Have you done cruises?
Yes, I have.
So one of the reasons I pretty much always say no to cruises, unless it's like a guest on thing, it's like, man,
right,
9 months. Like, sure, it's like maybe you get consistent income, and but what could you have done in that period of time with your career? What opportunities have you missed from being on the boat? And it's a long time to be wrapped up into something. So getting wrapped into the wrong contract and the wrong project potentially is a bad move.
Yeah. But also it depends on where you're at in your life.
Sure.
I think where I'm at right now, I can safely say I don't need to do a 9-month cruise. You know? But at the beginning of my career, there was some empty gaps, you know what I mean? Where I was like, hey, that's an experience. That is, you gain something, you know?
Yeah.
Not just money and work, but you gain an experience of singing every day and being on the ships, touring around, you know, like all those things. So I would never say to anybody, say no to it.
I'm definitely not shitting on cruises. Like, definitely cool things to do. Especially if you're coming out like you've just come out of grad school or something. Yeah, that is an amazing thing to be able to get to do, travel the world, like you're part of this community. You like it's really, really cool.
I've honestly seen people grow, like go on a cruise and come back and they're a whole different person, you know? They've got this stuff sorted. They're like, you've got stuff for a band or whatever. The cruise used to do this. I'm like,
and I know there are people out there that, that's their thing. Yeah. They are the cruise guys and they love it. And, you know, you're not paying for food. You don't have to worry about anything other than singing. Yeah. And if that's where you want to go with it, then
that's
sure.
It. That's it.
But yeah, I think you're right. It depends on where you're at and what you want to do, because potentially you can get locked in and you could be getting offered stuff in London and that you have to turn down. And
that's the other thing.
You could be kicking yourself. So you're trying to weigh things up. Is there anything else you would say to, because I know a lot of the listeners for this podcast are upcoming or just recently graduated from musical theatre, probably Erdang as well. These kind of places. Obviously, you've been through it, you've done it, you've had a great career and you're going on to bigger and better things every day. What can you give from your experience to those guys that are just starting out?
I would say you're always learning. That's the key thing. You never get to a point where you're Mr. Know-it-all, you know what I mean? There's always something new to learn. And with that, a friend of mine gave me some great advice early on. They said, never say no. Unless you're in a position to say no, never say no, you know? And by doing that, you open up the doors. There's lots of stuff that you do that you're like, nah, that wasn't so great. But then when you count up the stuff that is great, you never know where it leads you, you know? I would say, for instance, Rat Pack being that journey, you know, like I was saying about, it's tribute, I don't know much about, you know. But it opened up a whole different world for me by doing that, where I could have been like, yeah, but it's tribute. I'm more of an actor singing, you know what I mean? I've just come from opera, you know? I could have been that route, but no, I went through that door. And I think that's the thing about entertainment industry, is that there's so many different doors you can go through. And you should never say no completely, you know? Always know that there's more out there. There's different aspects of entertainment that you can take on.
Is there a balance, do you think, of having that variety, but then also finding a lane and a niche and becoming the best at your field sort of thing?
Yes, I think that does happen with some people. Some people go off and they create their own path. But with a lot of people I see creating that path and winning those awards and stuff like that, it is because they are doing their thing, you know? And it's not because they're seeking that glory. It's actually because they're doing their thing, and they've just kept doing their thing, you know? And they built their world around them, which has then got recognition rather than, I'm going to be the best, you know? And this is my...
There's a lot of examples of that. And especially in this industry, by following the passion.
Yes.
And you just can stick with it.
Yeah.
And eventually you've almost created your own niche and brand and person.
Right.
And
yeah.
like with Saucy Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's an amalgamation of like your life's work and then like your passions. And then when you're making a character like that, you're not going to make it someone that you don't want to play.
Right.
It's got to be something that you are passionate about, and have like, you know, how are you going to bring this into the creative world?
Right.
And then eventually it's formed its own thing, and people are booking you for that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's some great artists out there. I mean, I was doing some shows at the Main in town and working with like Fallon D, Claire de Valois, like these burlesque dancers. Miss
Jolie Papillon.
Yeah, like amazing at their craft and different. And I love that amalgamation of, I think that's the kind of the closest I got to sort of stepping into your world was working with these guys. It's amazing to see how it changes the show.
Yes.
And it keeps it modern, it keeps it fresh, and at the same time you're giving a nod to like probably how it was back in the day when you'd have these jazz clubs and you'd have these dancers, and it's really cool. And then I did another one with the London Cabaret Club.
Yes.
So I've worked with them a few times. But it's just, it's so different and fun. That's the thing. It's really fun. I think there needs to be more of it.
Yeah.
And having people that know how to put these shows on.
Well, exactly. I always find it's people who are passionate in it, you know, and they go, actually, I want to see more of this. This is the thing. Wouldn't it be great if we had this and this and this, you know? And then we come along, we're like, we've always wanted this, this, and this, but we can't afford it. So you can? Let's do it. Like,
That's a point in general. Like if you go to different countries, or even the other week I was in Liverpool, and there was just so much more happening.
Yes.
It's like in London, come on, man. London is the heart of like the West End, is your entertainment. Like they do the West End well. Yeah. But then there needs to be more. There needs to be more going on. There needs to be more venues putting these things on. Yeah. Because the demand is there.
Yeah.
And I don't think that venues realise, because for them, it isn't a case of, oh, we'll put some money in here and we'll get this much out. Generally, that's not how it works.
No.
It takes time to realise the effect of what it is that you've done, and time to build the reputation to be known as a place that puts on live entertainment or live music.
Massively.
What I see all the time, I mean, I've been part of it and it happens all the time. New venue pops up. We want a jazz band. We want some live music. They bring in our like 5-6 piece band and they're like, we're going to do Wednesday through till Saturday, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 or 5 nights a week. We're going to have live music. Yeah. After 4 weeks, they're like, oh, but we didn't get the same amount of money back as we spent on the band. Do you know what? We'll drop it down to a 5 piece. Next week it's a 4 piece, then a 3 piece, then a 2 piece. And before you know it, it's just a pianist playing and singing. Yeah. This has happened so many times in London. And I think what these venues have to realise is it takes time to get your name out there, to be known as somewhere that puts your people like, oh, we're going to go here because of the live music, or we're going to go here because of the show they're putting on. And they lose faith too quickly. It's an investment that you need to be more long visioned with.
I was going to say, one of the things that I see with all this, exactly what you're saying, is marketing. A lot of people kind of brush over marketing, but it's a big job in itself, you know? Selling a show. You may sell the first few weeks or whatever, you know, just like you said. But then this is where marketing kicks in. You know, I've definitely had shows where I spent a whole load of money on marketing because I'm like, okay, I'm produce this, I'm gonna put it on. And I've had audience members who come from overseas and they were like, yeah, we were in town this week and we saw it while we were looking what's on while we're here, you know, and we've come to see the show. Marketing counts for so much. So that audience, you know,
100%
coming in.
I think the problem is a lot of the people that get put in charge of the marketing are too heavily influenced by the finance team. Yes. And the finance team, they like to see, oh, I invest this much in, I get this much out. Yeah. And it doesn't work that way with marketing. No. Especially with social media.
Yeah.
Like you could put up like a paid promotion on social media. That could mean that 3 months down the line, someone's booked that into their diary.
Right.
And because it didn't come from the click of the marketing link, you didn't realize that actually it was the marketing that got you that sale.
Yeah.
It's that constant battle between the finance and marketing team.
It is. Because honestly, any time that I've gone, yes, I think this is a great idea, I'm going to give it a go, I believe in it, it's never gone wrong, you know? Maybe a loss in numbers or a loss in intake or whatever, but something always comes from that because there's always somebody who saw it. There's always people that you met or had to bring in. Somebody dropped out and you had to find somebody new to fill his spot. But then that person that you met, you know, is a link to a whole load of different things. You know what I mean? Like there's always something good from that passion that comes, you know?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And to reiterate that without sounding too wishy-washy, I don't know how else to phrase it, but I feel as though the universe rewards people that are taking those little bits of risk.
Yeah.
I'm a massive believer in overextending yourself. Yeah. I think you should always be like, oh, this might not work, or like you should always be pushing the boundary.
Yeah.
And I think the universe has a way of repaying that.
Yes.
And respecting the people that are willing to like risk something or put themselves on the line or overextend themselves. And I've found like whenever I've done that, it has come back to me in some weird and wonderful way that you just wouldn't have happened had you not taken that risk.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. There's something to it.
There is.
It's just scary taking that step. Sometimes it's really scary.
But I think everybody needs to take it, especially if you're in entertainment and not just entertainment. I would do this to many things. Just say art in a form. Art is a risk. You're portraying something or giving something out that other people are going to either like, hate, or appreciate, or you know what I mean? You're putting yourself out there, you know?
Yeah.
And that is the basic form of it as well. So yeah, no matter how big it gets or how small it is, you got to put it out there, you know?
Yeah. That's the fun. That's why we do it. But you've got to be passionate about it. I think one of the sort of overwhelming themes of having guests on this podcast is you have some sort of calling or passion, or you know, you don't choose to do this because this was my only option, or like this is what I chose to do. You do it because you get drawn to it. There's something within you. You've had some kind of like positive reinforcement by doing a show and getting that recognition of you are good at something, and then trying to pursue it more
constantly. I mean, when I think of myself, I think if I take away the childhood thing of dance and I say, okay, that's there, it's just a part of my back of my brain. What was it that started the whole thing? Art. I used to love drawing, painting, whatever. I was good at it, you know? But where was my art taking me? I was like, physical form, ballet feet. You know what I mean? It's like this signs, your subconscious tell you, oh, but why does this interest me? Like, you know, Leonardo's work and the form and the body, and then before you know, I'm listening to music while painting it. It's all signs of growth, you know?
Did you have a vision as a kid, or was there something that you really wanted to be when you were younger?
I think I went through many phases as a kid. I wanted to be all sorts. I wanted to be in the military. I wanted to at some point be an architect. But I think, as you said, a calling, it happens. There comes a point where you have to make a decision, and it's almost like the decision is almost made for you. It's put right in front of you, you know, and you can't ignore it. You know? I went to school, college for A-levels to do art, to do graphic design and, you know, religious studies or whatever. But then suddenly there was a dance course that was there, just started. Was I interested? That was the question. And then I was like, yeah, well, I'll do it for fun, you know, like, yeah. And then before you know it, they're like, actually, I'm going to teach here and do the A-level course. Would you like to do that? Yeah, I'm loving it. So, you know, it's just that, you know, you get that thing and it suddenly becomes, grows. And it's almost like the art form building.
I remember, I mean, this is probably like loosely related to what we're saying, but my mum brought me up playing the flute.
Yes.
And I liked singing.
Yes.
And I always remember singing was not a man's thing to do. It was like, singing was a very feminine thing.
Yes.
So I always stayed clear of it, and it wasn't until that Joseph show that I was like, nah, I want to do this. But then I went playing the flute, watched videos of myself back from when they filmed me when I was a kid, and I've got this like, I look like I'm having the worst time of my life because I didn't want people to think that I was enjoying playing the flute.
Oh, no.
Because it was such a it was like the most feminine. I wanted to play the drums or guitar or like something like that. But the reality is, that's where I learned all my melody, all my harmony, all my timing, all of that kind of stuff is what taught me music. And going back to the role model thing, I remember year 6 was the end of your infant school, and you're kind of like top of the pack at that age because you're the oldest.
Yeah.
And I remember having influence on the younger kids that I was singing the lead in the musical theatre show. And the same thing when I went to my secondary school. I did all the music and the musical shows, and I felt like this is good because I'm showing to the younger guys coming up that singing is cool. Yes. I felt like that was my part to play in that side of things.
There's always points like that. I've had a similar thing with the dance thingy. As a kid, when I was 5 years old, I was the only boy. And then it was the dance teacher's son who came along and was like, oh, I see that guy dancing. I want to dance. He was a little bit younger than me. And so we were like a duo, you know? All these other little girls dancing about, whatever. It felt comfortable because it was another guy doing it. You know? And I guess the same thing coming back wasn't that far off. There's just a few more boys. But it was having a few more boys that made it feel less like, oh, am I in the right place? You know, like, I really love doing this, but, you know, what are people going to think of me? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I still get that now. Like, occasionally I go to pineapple classes to do the dancing, and I know that there's that inner child, young part of me that's holding back when it comes to dancing. And it's you just need to relax and express yourself a bit more. I still have that, and that's definitely a childhood thing of it's not cool to be a dancer as a boy. I think it's just a bit of a mental block, to be honest. Right. Of like, oh, it wasn't cool to do that back then. I mean, pineapple classes are good for that because they really get you to just like, no one cares. You're never going to see these people again. Go for it.
Right. And that's the whole point. Have fun. That is the whole point of it, is to have fun. And I know, and it can be serious, you know, when the routine gets hard, everyone's busting out plastics, you know what I mean? Like, it's great, but at the end of the day, everybody is there to enjoy. And I think that's the main thing, is to forget what everybody else is thinking is and just enjoy. Mm-hmm. Just enjoy the art. Enjoy it, you know?
Do you think anyone should ever drop out? Because I think we're quite good, especially on podcasts and stuff, at saying, keep going, just keep going. But do you think realistically that some people just aren't made for the industry, or actually they should be doing something else?
I'd say if you love it and it's something that makes you happy doing, then yes, you should keep going, you know. But if you don't love it, because I know sometimes people get disheartened, then you probably need a change of scenery, you know. But to completely give up, I don't think you ever really give up, because most of the time when people do that, they open themselves to something new within the industry, you know. They sometimes become a director. They find it in clothing and design, you know, and they're like, well, actually, I don't have to be a part of that thing. That doesn't make me happy. But actually making the clothes for everybody makes me quite happy. Actually.
Do you know, I think that's one thing that we've discussed a couple of times in this podcast, is like sometimes closing a door, it opens another one. You wouldn't have been able to open that other one having not done what you've just done.
Right.
It's set you up to open this door. And that's the lane that you're happier in, but you never would have been there had you not have done the first stuff. Yeah, sometimes it can be really powerful to close a door. And again, without sounding too wishy-washy, like, I do think you follow the feeling.
Yes.
You got to follow that feeling.
Yes.
And that will lead you. That will guide you down the right way. Like, if you follow the feeling, you work hard and you're passionate about something and you really go for it, there's only good things that are going to kind of come from that.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's always finding that passion. As long as you have that passion, it will grow and become better and better. If you lose the passion, then you need to find it again. And it might not be in the same place that you found it originally.
I think the passion is the best guidance you can have. I really do. Do. I know there's mixed messages of this online where it's like, you got loads of people being like, just follow your passion, follow your dreams, blah, blah. And you got other people going like, no, don't follow your passions. Like, that's a silly way to do it. Yeah. For me, I'm definitely more in the camp of follow your passion. And that doesn't mean, there are people that are passionate about accounting, and that's their thing. That's what gets them lit. Yeah. That's what they love. That's great. We need those people. There are people that their passion is dancing, and that's what makes them alive. We need those people. Like, society needs all these different things.
Exactly.
And I'd love to know a study of everybody in the UK, if they were to write down their sort of top 3 passions, if there was an equal distribution of what makes a society tick.
Right.
So what I'm saying there is, if there was enough people with a passion for accountancy to make it so that the economy could still work, and there's enough people passionate about driving trains that can make the economy still work. And I'd be so fascinated to know if we are by design meant to just follow the passion, or if people are in the wrong job or the wrong.
Well, this is where I think your passions change depending on where you are, what you're doing, what's happening. Your passions definitely change. Yeah, I think it probably is equaled out because different people see different things and gain a passion from them.
I always thought when I was growing up that everyone had the same interests and likes.
Right.
I had this thing where it was like, oh no, obviously everyone must think that being a singer is the best thing in the world. And it's not till I grew up and realised some people would absolutely hate to be doing that.
Yeah.
And I think opening my mind out to actually everyone likes different things. Even with, and this is a bit of a strange example, I remember seeing photos of models and being like, well, that must be what everyone's attracted to. And I'd like see someone and be like, oh, they're attractive. That must be what everyone thinks is attractive. And then it was only till I got older, chatting to some friends, oh, that person's really attractive, aren't they? No, I'm into this person. It blew my mind. It really blew my mind. Early teens or whatever, when you're discussing those kind of things. I remember having these conversations and like my mind being blown and suddenly realising, oh, shit.
Yeah.
There's someone for everyone.
Yeah.
There's different levels of attractive and learning to see things from other people's point of view and get into other people's eyes. That's such a powerful thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
That really is. Because I think, especially as a performer, sometimes you get like sucked into your world and the blinkers are on.
Yes.
And I think it's so important to just be able to be like off with the blinkers and try and just step into someone else's shoes.
Yes.
See it from their point of view.
I think, to be honest, I think the best stage managers, the best producers, the best directors, all those people who do that are able to put their vision aside and see somebody else's vision, then add their vision to that. And, like,
We've all come across those producers or directors that are so set in a certain way.
Yes.
Some of the best directors I've ever worked with. And I noticed this when, like the bigger the production. I recently did something with Disney Plus, a TV series I've been filming with them, and got to work with some great directors. And I remember thinking, oh, that's why you're at this level. Was this guy in particular. His ability to like, and my role isn't huge in it. I remember him coming up to me and being like, so how would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, he was asking me. I'm like, dude, you're a Disney Plus director who's done major blockbuster films, and you're asking me, someone this is their first mainstream TV show, and you're asking me how I would. Oh, this guy, that's how you get a good production.
Yeah.
You want to pull on everyone's resources and not just be so like focused on the outcome. It's really interesting to see.
And in that, I'm sure he's learning something. He's learned your side of it and what you think. And he's gone, oh, okay, that might be different to what I was thinking. I wonder why. Okay, you know what I mean? Like the cogs start going and building, and then he's learning while creating. It's amazing. Like, yeah.
And you must get both worlds because you're performing and you're directing as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to move towards more directing.
You do. That was going to be my next like line of question. Is like, you know what? Because it really suits you because you have the experience of being the performer. Sometimes that makes the best director.
Well, I hope so, because from directors that I've seen, I always like that they have an idea and then they let everybody know their idea, and then everybody contributes to that idea of how they see a character or how they see a thing being seen or the overlook, because I think those moments grow into something amazing, sharing other people's experiences with one another and then becoming an experience together instead of just one person's view.
That's really important. It's like that CEO has got to have the overview and really take on board. Like, there's a reason you're hiring people.
Yeah.
There's a reason that actor is in the job.
Yeah.
He's not there just to be told to do something. You're hiring him because you're trusting that he has something to bring to the table. Yeah, no, you're right. I think you'll do really well as a director. And so is that what lies ahead, do you think?
Yeah, that's what I would like to move towards more. Directing, telling stories, not just as an actor, but or a singer or even an dancer. You can tell them in all forms. But actually going as far as to seeing people that I think would be able to show that vision, whether it be set designers, whether it be camera crew, those kind of things, and how we make stuff come to life. Because I also know that you can't be great at everything. So you also have to delegate to and go, well, okay, I'm not great at working behind the camera, but this person knows everything about that camera. So how about I work with them? Tell them what I think, and then they can tell me the crazy stuff that comes out and go, let's mesh the two together.
What's your dream role? What would you want to really direct?
My dream goal actually would be to take at the moment is to take an actual story, a life story, one untold, one that's maybe not in books, take a real life and I guess show the beauty of it, because I think everybody's lives are beautiful. Everybody has such great journeys. When you find out where people are from, what they did, where they grew up, where they didn't grow up, the grandparents, the great-grandparents. There's so many lovely stories. But if you were to take one person and you were to take a few stories from their life and bring it to life, I like that idea. I like that and the magic behind it, because there's magic in everybody's life constantly, Even right now, where we are right now, it's quite magical, you know what I mean? We've got lights, we're talking, we're having tea at the same time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a story by itself,
I think that's one of the perks about being a performer, is the ability to, you do get to travel. You do get to see things.
Yeah.
And you get to experience different cultures. You get to be part of those different cultures. And that bleeds into your performance. And that bleeds into, if you're going to direct something, you draw on your experiences from around the world.
Yes.
And you draw, and like everyone has their unique blend that they're able to draw upon. Like, oh, I stayed a year in this country. I learned this about this culture. And then you get to display that in an art form, or certainly if you're going to direct something, to be in that position to show people, like, this is what I've learned and drawn upon. And that's going to be cool. That's where you get the best stories from, is when you're blending those things together, you're drawing upon that. I'm excited for you. I'm excited.
Thank you, man.
Hopefully there's people watching that think, I'm going to keep an eye out for Darren's next projects coming up.
Get in touch.
And also coming to see your shows as well.
Yeah.
So when are you going to be in London? What are the London dates?
So a lot of my dates are touring dates right now. We're currently on the Belmond British Pullman train, doing a murder mystery. So that leaves Victoria 4 times a month, and we do a murder mystery on there.
Really nice getting to know your story.
It's been a pleasure.
And it's always nice because when there's somebody that I've seen on social media for such a long time and never met in person, it's like, why have I not met this person in real life? But then where's the opportunity to do that?
Yes.
And this provides a really nice opportunity to sort of like actually get to know people rather than just seeing what they're posting online, and it's wonderful. So thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. It's been really nice to get to know. And hopefully, you never know, it's a small world. We'll probably end up working together at some point, doing something, keeping in touch, coming to see some of your shows.
Yeah, and I'll come and see some of yours,
That'd be awesome. Nice one, Darren. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Nick.
Let's call it there.
All right.